Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to factor monomials. But before we do that, let's get a few terms out of the way. A monomial is a polynomial that only consists of one term. And a term is either a single number or variable, or numbers and variables multiplied together. A few examples of terms are x to the power of 2, x to the power of 3, 2, -2, 2x, or even 2x to the power of 3. Alright, so now that we have some basic knowledge down, we can begin by learning how to find the GCF of polynomials. So the first question we have is 6c to the power of 3 plus 30c plus 2. To start off, let's use factor trees to find the prime factors of each of the coefficients. So beginning with 6, 6 can be split into the prime factors 2 and 3. 30 can be broken down into 6 and 5, but we can further split 6 into, again, 2 and 3. And 2 in itself is already a prime number, so it would just be 2. So now in 3 rows, let's write the expanded version of each term. Now our first term would be 2 times 3, and because the variable c is raised to the third power, we'll have 3 c's being multiplied together, and that is an expanded version of our first term. Our second term would be 5 times 3 times 2, and because the c is only raised to an invisible first power, it'll just be 1c. And last but not least, we have just 2 for our third term. Now what you want to do is you're going to find the maximum number of factors that all 3 terms share. And in this case, the only factor that they all share would be 2. So we're going to circle all 3 2's, and that is our greatest common factor. Now let's write down GCF is equal to 2. Okay, let's move on to our second question. However, at first glance, you'll see that all the coefficient values are the same, which is 2. So our GCF is automatically going to have the number 2 in it, because that is the largest number that is shared by all of them. Now, as for the variable part, we're going to choose the variable that is raised to the smallest power, which in our case is the invisible number 1. That would make our GCF 2x raised to the first power, or just simply 2x because the first power doesn't change our value. I can show you why the variable in our GCF would be the one that is raised to the smallest value. I'm going to ignore the coefficients this time, and I'm going to draw the expanded version of all the variables. Now you can see that we can only circle as many groups of shared factors as our smallest number. So to better understand this, think of if... Now it doesn't matter if your third term has a variable raised to the 1000th power, because if the variable your first term is multiplied with is only raised to the first power, you're only going to be able to circle one group of common factors. Alright, so here I have a little bit of an odd question. Can you tell right away that all 3 coefficient values are prime numbers, meaning the only factors that they have are 1 and itself? And not only that, our third term doesn't even have a variable in it. So what do you think would be the greatest common factor for this polynomial? Well, because when 1 is multiplied to anything, it doesn't change the value of that thing. So in a case where all terms seem to have nothing in common, your greatest common factor would simply just be 1. Now that we know how to find the greatest common factor, let's actually factor out a monomial from a polynomial. So the polynomial I have here is 36t to the power of 4 minus 9t squared plus 3t. Now, the value 3 actually does go in evenly to 36 and 9, so because 3 is your smallest value, that automatically makes it the number part of your GCF. However, if you can't see that right away, then you can also do factor trees. So 36 can be broken down into 9 and 4, and 9 and 4 can both further be broken down into 2 times 2 for 4 and 3 times 3 for 9, and those are your prime factors. 9 can be broken down into 3 times 3, and 3 is already a prime number, so it would just be 3. Now let's circle the factors that they all have in common, which in this case it would just be 1, 3. So the number part of our GCF is just 3, and now let's figure out which variable is raised to the smallest power. And that would be in our third term where t is raised to the first power. So the greatest common factor of this polynomial is 3t. Now I'm going to highlight each individual term with a different color so that we make sure to include the negative sign as well. I'm going to use blue, yellow, and highlight 3t with a pink color. Now we're going to divide each term by our GCF, which is 3t. So to set up our factored expression, we're going to put 3t, which is the GCF, on the outside of our bracket, and let's divide our first term. 36 divided by 3 is 12, and t raised to the fourth power divided by t to the first power is t to the third power, because when you divide exponents, you subtract their powers. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3, and t squared divided by t is simply just t. Finally, 3t divided by 3t is just 1. Alright, let's close up our bracket, and that is our factored form of our original polynomial. Thank you so much for watching this video about factoring monomials, and I'll see you in the next one.